Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Covert Ops on Rocket Rapid Commentaries. And in this episode, we'll be doing Endgame, or getting about halfway through it, because I don't play this mission all that well. That is a splash page of the Xanthos. It actually has all of those weapons that you see. You know, flamethrower, Gatling lasers, rocket launchers. Yeah, it has all of that stuff.
The Xanthos is currently
And it also has the ability to repair itself, which would lead me to believe that not only is this an appropriate final boss, it's probably going to be one of the more problematic final bosses.
Kinda, sorta. Alright. The big thing that you have to worry about for the Xanthos specifically is that although it has the ability to repair itself, you're never going to have to worry about its self-repair capabilities in combat, because that's not how it repairs itself. If you'll notice, General Davis actually has got hey, we're over here, we're over in this area portion, up in the top top left corner of the map. We have to get up there in order to successfully deal with the Xanthos.
Terran versus Terran.
Yes, again.
General, it appears we have company. It's the ghost who escaped.
Of course it is. We'll handle her.
So, what I'm doing here is I'm preemptively attempting to move a few assets out in order to actually deal with, well, a couple of the stuff that's around our base that Davis will actually use in order to perform raids on our position.
SCV ready.
Yes, rather appropriate choice of words. A raid.
By the numbers.
Like this.
Your skirmish force is too small. We have the high ground.
SCV ready.
Alright. So, as annotation Gerdat mentions here, the mission itself is honestly relatively straightforward, especially if you're willing to actually sacrifice a couple of allies along the way. I personally don't recommend sacrificing your allies. I actually recommend going to go support them with Nova. However, yeah, I'm not actually good enough at this mission to keep my allies actually all the way alive. There are technically three different lanes that you could attempt to approach Davis from. I personally recommend going down the left lane and staying on the left lane for the entirety of the mission, despite the fact that it gets significantly more difficult to do so as the mission goes on. Also, you'll notice that I'm actually using Arming of One a bunch, and that's strictly because I've got access to the Apollo infantry suit. I don't know how this mission goes if you do not have the Apollo infantry suit, but I assume it's significantly longer because, well, Nova's Army of One has the ability to deal with a majority of these smaller forces strewn about the map.
Well, it is the final mission of the game. We should know well which ordnances and which equipages we're comfortable with.
Yes.
Nova here. I'll make it happen.
Plenty tanks.
Consider it done.
And use Nova in order to defend the tanks.
Ain't war hell. Looks like the defenders of man have to defend themselves.
Yes. All right. Gas is honestly one of the more difficult resources in this mission, specifically because in order to get as much gas as you actually need, you usually have to. God damn it, Nova! Don't die right now. Dang it.
No, she doesn't die. She's been warped back to the command center to avoid lethal damage. She'll be ready for action in 1 minute.
Blah. Anyway. It is actually difficult for me specifically to get enough gas in order to do all those things that I want. Specifically, the big thing that I actually want early on is a decent stock of Ravens in order to have the biomechanical repair drones, so I don't actually have to rebuild my forces.
My scans show the Xanthos moving toward a goal.
We gotta have a lot of flying units ready.
Its weaponry is
not
powering a flamethrower and an
No,
armor-piercing radar.
look, I agree that battle cruisers in this mission are actually very viable, but honestly, so are liberators, and I would prefer to build liberators with our single use with our single starting starport, rather than rather than attempt to build a second starport specifically for additional battle cruisers.
Complete.
Holy shit.
That is the Xanthos, and yes, it will very clearly get rid of a majority of whatever you throw at it. That was a Raven, which was stupid of me to throw at it, but you know, I did throw the Raven at it.
I mean, I was just shocked by the sudden appearance of such a large enemy.
Yes, the Xanthos is effectively a more space-capable version of the Odin. To the point where a majority of its threat actually comes from its various different weapon systems. The flamethrower specifically deals with infantry threats. The railgun specifically deals with building threats. But those are the only two weapons it has at the moment. Now, it is going back to go repair, and when it comes out the next time, it'll have specifically, well, it will actually have a missile bay on it.
So that's what they meant by the Xanthos being able to repair itself. They're explaining that the boss has more than just one health bar.
Yes.
Will do.
You know, it's refreshing actually to have a game like Starcraft actually justify a boss having more than just one health bar. Other great games did that too, like Sekiro.
Yeah. Sekiro specifically used the dragon infestation as the reasoning for second health bars, right?
You say? And yes, that is correct. The Dragon Rot is the reason why you have to death blow enemies more than once.
Guarding the Xanthos.
Sounds like a
There's
party.
a reason why.
And boom! We dropped a nuke on this point.
Executing.
What is the reason? The reason is I haven't nuked you yet. Of course you're still alive.
Now, because we dropped a nuke on this point, it actually is really easy for Nova to from this point actually take down the rest of this lane. The problem that I have is that although taking down the rest of this lane is fine, the Xanthos decides to go on the east lane from this point on, which is the lane that I decided to not go down. So now I have to attempt to go and rescue them on that lane, which I don't have actually anything pushed into yet. So, bleh.
Meanwhile, while Mr. and Mrs. Tweedy are repairing the chicken pie making machine, we will continue to push back on the farm boundaries.
Yeah, as annotations Gerdat mentions here, Davis attempting to go encounter the Hyperion specifically is a huge nuisance to me. So
Yeah, you gotta give Nova a little posse to back her up, because
to be perfectly honest, Nova doesn't actually need a posse so much as she needs additional firepower, because Nova's Blastfire Gunblade, despite the fact that it actually does a lot of damage to units, doesn't actually do all that well against buildings for some reason.
Well, buildings have stationary parts, with some exceptions.
But it's
Robots
a laser
and enemy
sword.
units.
It's a laser sword with a shotgun attached to it. Surely she can actually cut off individual opponents of buildings.
Well, that's when you put the sword down and you take out the battering ram.
Now, she can't have both the Blastfire Gunblade and a battering ram, Mr. Cloud.
Well, you're gonna look pretty silly scratching the brick wall facade of the enemy headquarters with a putty knife.
But it's not a putty knife, it's an energy sword.
Yes, sir.
Swords were meant for the destruction of people, not structures.
This is true.
This is going
Which
back
is really
thousands
weird,
of years.
because if you recall specifically, melee attackers of all sorts, specifically in Age of Empires and the other Age of games, actually do bonus damage against structures.
Just by swinging swords at them, you're saying?
Yeah, militia into men-at-arms specifically do significantly more damage to structures than archers do.
Well, it would definitely eat up a lot of game time to say, curses. The enemy has holed himself up behind the moat and drawn the bridge.
Ready another attack.
Bring forth the battering ram.
Well, then in Age of Empires, they actually give you the ability to make battering rams. So, hell, Age
But
of
it
Mythology
takes
also has
time.
battering rams in it. It's just that you usually don't end up using them specifically because the battering rams that you get in Age of Mythology are just not as good as the myth units usually.
There's battering time. There's robbering time. And then there's even clobbering time. But each of these times will take away time from the other times.
Loud and clear.
Damn it, Xanthos, you're going the wrong way!
I'm telling you, man, Nova's got to have somebody backing her up here because, as we've seen, as powerful as she is, she's got a lot of buildings up ahead of her, I see. And that nuke has a considerable cooldown.
It does.
Strictly business.
Also, they have
So you're
comsat
right.
stations.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well just let Nova fight to the death. I mean, she regenerates.
But I want to use her specifically to take down key targets like siege tanks, missile turrets, and what would normally be considered production facilities. The problem is Nova takes down production facilities very slowly. Anyway, the Xanthos now has access to a fighter bay.
Quick, destroy each of its individually united guns, like the railgun on the right side, and the flamethrower on the left side. But let's not forget the fighter bay, which is launching units at us.
Yes.
Damn. I mean, this is turning out to be a pretty satisfying mission to take out a boss this big and this ferocious with a wide array of different capabilities.
This vessel requires persistent even online.
So what happened there is the fact that I actually accidentally split my my primary unit group into two different groups, and neither of them were in either of the places that I thought they were. So, and instead of actually progressing onto the Xanthos, I had one group attempt to fight through the middle lane, which is not where I thought they were, and the other group, which was about half the size, attempt to fight the Xanthos. And yeah, because the second group actually had my Ravens in it, now I have to rebuild my Ravens again.
She's going after the lose condition.
that I have for this mission is the overabundance of the three lanes, because there are actually three lanes, and it's extremely difficult to figure out which lane I want to actually go down, because if I go down the correct lane, which I don't know which one it is, then the mission is over in about 15 minutes. But actually staying on that lane becomes a huge hassle as the Xanthos changes up where it ends up wanting to go. Unfortunately, the Xanthos did actually destroy one of the battle cruisers that was one of the Gorgons that was on repair. So we would have failed that particular achievement for this run.
Yeah,
I already have that one.
So there's an achievement.
Oh well.
For finishing endgame without losing any Gorgons.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense. I mean, there's nothing quite like a perfect finish
Executing.
in the end game.
Another charge against the Xanthos. You're welcome to join in, Nova.
I'll make it
Okay,
happen.
what are you actually sending this time? Because last time all you sent was the Hyperion, and you didn't go anywhere. It was very sad.
I thought we were supposed to wait for the Xanthos to emerge because it's the main
On the move.
And then Matt
method
just
for
says,
taking
"No,
out the
we're not
Gorgons."
waiting. We're going to send
Got
stuff
it.
at the Xanthos." We do have to eventually take down the Xanthos' repair bay in order to actually deal with it finally. Yeah, but this is a small problem that I've got with the mission too. Horner says he's sending an assault force at the Xanthos, right? But this is the second time that he's just sent the fucking Hyperion. And the Hyperion is extremely tanky and able to deal with units just fine, but it can't deal with buildings that well.
Confirm that last.
Right.
Mostly because the ATX battery that it's got is, less efficient.
In rear with the
At this point, I really should have built a second factory specifically to pump out additional Goliaths. But I wanted to just, try and do this with just my starting stuff aside from an engineering bay and an armory. I did build an armory. I don't know where it is at the moment, though.
Well, we are running pretty lean, but then again, Horner's units don't count towards our units.
Right.
Say again. Loud and clear.
So our force is bigger than what we can measure right now.
Acknowledge.
Which leads me to believe that this mission expects you to take risks to the point of overextending.
Nova here.
For
And did our
example,
nuke successfully launch?
Operational, General.
Good. You are authorized.
I'm not sure if our
to
nuke launched or not. God damn it.
Protect the Xanthos!
And it did not, because if it had launched, it would have killed that bunker.
okay, Xanthos is on the move, heading east.
Which is weird because we are right at its spawn point, so it should have had to float directly over us, and yet we didn't see it.
Nuclear launch detected.
Did the game just like spawn it in a place and then tell it to keep going?
I don't think so. I mean, that's an explanation for what just happened, but I don't think it's the right one.
Oh wait, no, the Xanthos isn't even operational right now. It's still repairing. So what the hell did they just send? The nuclear arsenal?
Orders received.
Nah. So what they actually sent at us was a small strike force. It had some Banshees in it.
Status.
Hyperions at half health.
Acknowledged.
Alright, in the next episode, we will finish Endgame. Be safe, everybody.